Hi, Cecilia.
Hi, Sam.
Did you imagine when you were producing I Am Greta a few years ago? Now here you are with an impact campaign. How has the journey been for you?
It's been overwhelming, I guess. Yeah, as you said, I mean, it all started back in 2018 when Greta did her first day of school strike. And at that point, we thought it would be just a short about this very special girl taking such a, hard stance on the climate issue. But little did we know that she would become perhaps the world's most famous climate activist, and we were able to follow her journey, which was incredible. For me, it was a new thing to work with an impact campaign. As a documentary producer, I've never done that before, and I've sort of always just left the film when it's in distribution, and then I'm sort of scurried off to other projects. It's been tremendous to be able to see the film taking part of conversations in the community and hopefully spurring conversations and helping mobilizing youth and that's been quite a journey.
Well, I'm very honored and happy that I got to work with you in your first impact campaign. How has this process been for you of like learning more about relational organizing, learning more about how conversations, one-to-one community building can lead to systemic change?
Since the Fridays for Future movement and the climate strike movement was such a physical campaign and of demonstrations and of physical gatherings, a big part of our thinking back then was to organize screenings and discussions in real life. So when we had to change our strategy around that, it was quite daunting, to be honest, but I think thanks to also you guys and the Yeah team, we've been able to instead sort of tap into maybe communities that we wouldn't have reached otherwise, which has been very inspiring, and also work more around creating sort of ways for different organizations to find each other.
I also want to ask you, because another exciting thing about Can You Hear Us is how the campaign decentralizes the main focus of the film, which is, quote, I am Greta. And we all know that Greta, as you said, is the most recognizable climate activist in the world. And I think this impact campaign is an example of how this attention can be redirected toward frontline groups, other community organizations. What has been your experience with that process, and how do you think it can inspire other campaigns, and possibly maybe Can You Hear Us, and that can be a framework for narrative, documentary, doesn't matter, to make a difference?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. And I think, first of all, what one needs to do when you're creating an impact campaign around a documentary that has, an activist as its protagonist, is to sort of define if the impact campaign is an extension of the main subject's sort of own campaign, or if it's a campaign in its own right. And for us, it was important that our campaign was independent from Greta Thunberg, as we also recognize that the film itself is our interpretation of her, right? It's not Greta's, she hasn't crafted the story herself. So we wanted to reflect that. We also wanted the campaign to be about more than Greta, because something very essential about Greta is that she thinks that she's getting too much attention as it is. Like she thinks it's absurd, the situation that she is in the limelight, and the media is sort of over focusing on her. And the film, in fact, is about this, that the over mediaization of Greta Thunberg, and that everybody else needs to take responsibility, right? So then it was natural for us to sort of help organizations and activists to mobilize using the resources, rather than just focus on Greta. herself, the campaign. So yeah, that was important. And I thought it was very exciting when the people from Exposure Labs came up with the idea of sort of an umbrella campaign in Can You Hear Us, rather than I Am Greta film impact campaign, because it also enables us to include other films in this sort of framework, so that it can continue to live and not just sort of wither away with the film, because I mean the film will have a limited lifespan, and if you connect the impact campaign to sort of hard to the film, then the impact campaign also has a limited lifespan. So I think that was an exciting moment when we decided that Can You Hear Us would be able to live on and take other films underneath it and continue to work with them, because with the sort of mutual goal of mobilizing youth and creating bonds between different organizations, specifically in climate.
You mentioned Exposure Lab. You started developing this campaign at the Climate Story Labs, which I think is also a great example of why Can You Hear Us wants that framework that is more open. Can you tell me a little bit more of how was that experience with Climate Story Labs?
The Climate Story Lab was where it all started, really. It was, I mean, that's where we met Exposure Labs, and it was organized by Doc Society. So that's how we, got an opportunity to just, look inside how a campaign like this could look like. And none of us, me or Nathan, the director, had any experience of impact campaigns or impact work at all, actually. So it was just felt very reassuring to be among so many other filmmakers and researchers and impact producers that had, could help and guide us and give ideas, and not, of course, and to mention also the financiers. And we were so lucky to meet Perspective Fund that funded a big part of the campaign, and also the 5 Action Star Fund, and yeah, so that was completely essential for the whole thing. So yeah, I can just recommend everybody to apply for any Climate Story Labs that are out there. I know they're proliferating, right, and becoming more and more. And yeah, I think that's that was really a collaborative process that started there in thinking how can we make this story reach an audience in a new way, and have an impact in so many different parts of the world. I think that was like a very big ask for us to sort of just get our heads around. But so it was really needed with all these people that came from different parts of the world. Also, we met, we were able to meet impact producers from India and Kenya and discuss with them how they sort of could work with a film like this and a campaign like this. And that was also very helpful. We knew early on that we wanted to, for the campaign to be sort of led by the local organizations. So not to be sort of a centralized structure, but that each local organization should be able to form their own activities and goals. And that's something that also the Climate Story Lab it's in their DNA, I guess.
Well, thank you so much, Cecilia, for this awesome conversation.
Thanks, Sam. It's been so great to be working with you, and it's still going on, right? So I'm just looking forward to the continuation and to see you in Stockholm.